All right, folks. Right now I have Brock sharing his screen here in class, and you can see he's in the Unit X folder, and we're going to have Brock scroll down towards the bottom here where there's a download and install section for Anaconda. Now, as I was mentioning just before I started the video, Anaconda is one of the major distributions for doing Python coding work. And I would argue probably the most important distribution and seems to be the one that's used by most professionals, by the way. Python as a programming language can be downloaded directly with its core tools from python.org, the website. But the Anaconda distribution is more complete and offers a better set of tools, which is why we use it and why the author recommends it. And I'm all with his recommendation. I think it's absolutely the right choice. Brock, if you could go ahead and click on the link that says download right there where you are. Thank you. And this will take us to the Anaconda page where you can download the IDE. And now you do need to match this up for whatever operating system you're using. Brock happens to be on a Windows machine. It looks like you're running Windows 10, just from the look of your taskbar. And you notice that the website automatically recognized that he's on a Windows machine. If you happen to be on a Macintosh machine, that's fine. The one thing I have to give you a little bit of warning about, though, is our programs are pretty PC centric. So we teach around the PC because the PC is, 95% of the world market basically for computers. However, you can do this work completely on a Macintosh or a Linux distribution pretty easily. So if you are on a machine like that and you come to this page, there's a good chance it automatically recognizes that you're on the Mac OS or on Linux, and will give you options that will say for Linux here. If it does not, and you're on a Mac, you might want to come down here and click on the Apple icon or the little penguin, which is for the Linux platforms. Most of us, as a rule, will be on Windows. Brock, go ahead and hit the download button. Let's get the download started. And you can notice that the download came down here into his system tray at the bottom. And what I can do here is I can actually highlight and draw on Brock's screen. So the download, and you can see he's using the Chrome web browser, and in Chrome, your downloads appear down here in the download bar. If you're using Firefox, and I think Edge does the same thing, I think their downloads end up here somewhere, just so you're aware. Right. So now that you have the download here complete, go ahead and click on the download. And what this will do is it's launching the installer for Anaconda. All right, and then we're going to go through these screens one step at a time. So I'm going to kind of proceed somewhat slowly here just to make sure everybody's at the same pace. All right. Brock, go ahead. Once you get to this initial screen, there's no real options to make here. Go ahead and click next.
Doing this, I interrupted, but this is not what you're doing on the screen. It's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, you cannot do this on an iPad, William. Right? You're on an iPad right now. It is not possible to install this on an iPad. So you're going to have to do this on your regular computer later. Okay?
Right. After class?
No, I will not be able to meet after class.
No. Like I can't install Anaconda. Will I be?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't do it on the iPad though. You're on an iPad right now. All right. Let's keep moving forward here because we're running out of time really fast. At this screen, this is the license agreement. Like you have a choice, say I agree. All right. And then this next screen is basically if you're on a Windows system, you are allowed to install software for other users on the system if you have them. If there's no other users on your system, say just me. If there are other users and you want them to code, say for all users. Chances are it will be just me for most of you. This is the default install location, and we will let it install exactly there. So just say next. All right, and then we have a couple of options here. The first one says add Anaconda 3 to my path environment variable. And I'm going to actually recommend that you do not do this checkbox. It doesn't harm anything if you check it, but it attributes all Python programs to this environment, which you may or may not want. I usually leave this one alone because if you do have other software on your system that already utilizes Python, sometimes it messes up the running of those programs. All right, and then it says register Anaconda 3 as my default Python 3.9. That's okay, because that's what we're going to be using to code. So go ahead and click install. Now the installer is running. You can see Brock's got a fast, powerful machine, and it's going really darn quick. It might not go that quick for you guys, you know. So depending on the speed and the processing power of your machine, this might take a little while. What I always like to do, Brock, is I click that show details thing, and it shows you what's going on in the background. So it's showing you it's basically unzipping a whole bunch of files is what it's doing. You know, so I think it's always kind of fun to watch that. All right, and that will take just a little bit.
Last part takes a little bit longer.
Yes, it does. Right. It's like the standard thing where the progress bar is like super fast. It gets up to 99%. And then that last 1% takes as long as the 99% that came before. So it's obviously not time-based. It's, you know, action-based. And that's kind of what's happening here. So we're just being patient while the work happens. Now, when you take a look at what the software gives to you when we're done, it really does install quite a bit of stuff on your system. You know, multiple coding tools, different environments, web tools, command line tools, Python library. So it's a pretty robust set of tools, and it just takes a little while. So you are now completed, so you can click the next button. And then it looks like you're all set. Let's click next. And then I want you to notice here, there's a couple of check boxes there. Anaconda Individual Edition tutorial. We're going to skip that for right now, and we're going to skip the getting started with Anaconda as well. So just uncheck those. If you want to leave them checked and check it out, hey, that's up to you. But I'm going to guide you from here on in. So, you know, your choice on that option. Go ahead and click Finish, Brock. You'll notice that it's not asking him to reboot his machine or anything like that. But that's not how Python operates. It doesn't really embed deep into the system registry or anything. If you did set the environment variables, that would ask you to reboot, by the way. Now we're going to take a look at what you installed. Let's go down to your Start menu. All right. And now you'll notice that it has 3 entries there. Now, what's interesting, and Brock, I'm glad that you weren't like hastily clicking on something. You notice 3 really important tools that were added. The first one that he's got listed there is the Jupyter Notebook. We will explore that a few weeks down the line. The next one down is the Spyder IDE. That's going to be our primary coding tool. And then there's the Anaconda Navigator. And I'm going to actually have you click on that first. And you can kind of use this as kind of a launch pad for running all of your Python stuff. You notice it's doing a lot of stuff in the background. It's launching a bunch of different tools. And then once it gets fully loaded up, and this will take a second here once it loads on your system. I don't know if you have any secondary screens, Brock. There we go. So there's the Anaconda Navigator. And then here in this window, what you're seeing are all the tools that were either installed or suggested to be installed on your system in some cases. Now the Spyder IDE that we're going to be predominantly using is up in the top row on the far right on Brock's screen. That's going to be our primary tool. And for the most part, when we run this, we will go to our Start menu and just start typing Spyder with a Y and then just launch it directly. In other cases, especially when we do some data science stuff and the people in those programs, we might come in here and use some of these other pieces. So for example, in the data science program, in your 3rd or 4th semester, I forget which one it is, you'll use the RStudio. For those of you that are into using perhaps more modern or powerful IDEs and have experience with IDEs, you might choose to install PyCharm, which is from the JetBrains company, and a lot of people really love that product, by the way. And then, of course, there's the Jupyter Notebook, and then a few different prompt environments. You'll notice that there's those green circles there where they have a PowerShell prompt and a command exe prompt. And that prompt also exists inside any of the coding environments. And what it's telling you is that a Python prompt allows you to run Python programs directly from a command line. And a command line, if you guys don't know what that is, that's like screens where it's just text. There's no like menus and buttons and stuff like that. So we will explore all of that piece by piece, but this is an Anaconda Navigator. Brock, you can go ahead and close this piece. What I will have you finally do is go back to your start menu and launch the Spyder IDE directly, just so people can see what that looks like really quick. And then we'll wrap class for the night.
Do you want me to just type it into the search, or?
Well, it's your second thing on the menu there. You can choose it directly.
I was for more of like instructional reasons.
Excuse me.
Absolutely. You can totally start typing it. William, can you hold your question for just a second, please? All right, I just want to go through this step and then you can ask your question. All right, so you can see Brock has now launched Spyder, and I am noticing this is a newer version than the one I have on my machine, so maybe I have a reason to upgrade. This is the Spyder environment. And basically the Spyder environment is broken up into 3 different areas, and we're going to start looking at this next week. But the main areas we'll be working in are on the left side of the screen where you code, and then the bottom right side of the screen where our console is located, or a command prompt in our program output typically will happen. All right, folks, I'm going to end this recording here.